You good? You got you to clap or?
Oh,
Yeah, because he always does a clap because that's how he spikes it up and stuff like that. But yeah, so we're on. We got our third podcast going. Got a good friend of mine, Petey Puga. Went to school together, and over the last couple of years have really. I mean, even throughout school, we played football together, but I think over the last couple of years, really getting to know each other a little bit more on a personal basis, and then obviously be able to share experiences, And I think the biggest thing for me on your episode is really getting out, continue to get out like where you started to where you're at now, but the everything that you've been through throughout the process. And I think the idea of having you on the podcast, like we were talking about, came 2 years ago, and it was, I don't know if you remember this conversation, but you were pissed because guys are like, oh, you're making all this money, and you're like, if you only knew the shit that I'm going through or the shit that I'm dealing with right now. So that's do you remember that conversation?
I do remember that conversation, and it's hard to look past your current situations of what you're currently going through, and to look at the bright side. I mean, everybody sees you're a business owner, you're doing well from their standpoint, but they don't see all the back end stuff of what's really going on and the stuff that you're dealing with, from customers to your own people. It's really a majority of pressure that's constantly coming at you. So it's the way that you handle it that ultimately defines who you are. I mean, we talk about that all the time. It's one thing after another, and there's different levels to it. There's different levels. There is as you get more successful, there's even more successful pain that comes with it. So it's funny that you bring that up. I try not to think about the past too much.
Well, we're definitely going to get into the past today, so if you're ready for that, man.
On to better days. But no, I mean, it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the journey, and they're all learning lessons. And
100%.
It's almost like you have to go through those. You have to go through that pain in order to see, okay, you know what, I went through that. But if I can make it through that, I can make it through anything. And that was 2 years ago. Now, looking back a year from now, we got hit with this whole COVID situation, and that was another big problem to deal with. And I feel like 2 years ago, what I went through helped me prepare for everything that was about to happen with COVID. Not to the extent that it occurred, because a 2-week spread is now a year and a month going into it now. So it's definitely tests you.
And I think it really, as you get over those hurdles, more and more confidence comes. Like you said, once you get over something that maybe you feel like, well, how are we going to get through this? And you get through it. And then once you get through it, you're like, wait, shit, we did it. What's next? And then I know that's again, I think that's part of what makes our conversations when we talk. Really, really insightful because, again, not only from sharing experiences, but really to get in depth on those things and really understand it. Like when I share my experiences, having gone through some of the city issues that we were dealing with, and then you're bouncing back with some of the stuff that you were dealing with. So being able to share those with somebody, makes it that much better because, again, I know we're speaking the same language. You understand it. As for somebody that might not has gone through those things, they're just looking at you like, well, it's not a big deal. And you're like, no, do you understand what I just did, what I just went through?
No, I mean, you're always constantly going through loopholes all the time. You're constantly jumping. It almost feels like you're going insane. It feels like you're in a circus and like everyone's just kind of staring at you, waiting to see how you're going to react. And I mean, the whole city issue, I mean, you went through it, I went through it, you know, and it's, it's back and forth, and you need to do this now. And it's like, okay, I did that. And it's like, no, you need to do this now. And it's like, well, why don't you just give me a list of things that I need to do so it doesn't take a year to get this one little thing done. And it's, it's permits, it's the city issues, it's the county issues, it's, it's a lot of things. And then you're dealing with, for me, in my instance, I'm dealing with the health department on top of everything. So, they're constantly coming in and checking to make sure that, we're staying a protocol, making sure that we're handling everything properly. Yep. And it's, it's definitely a test. Yeah. It's a test, and, you're always being tested, no matter what it is or who it is. You're always constantly being tested. So I feel like, I have been through what I feel is a lot, but I mean, I'm still here and I'm still in business, thankfully. And, we've managed to make it through COVID and kind of had to adjust in a way. Mm-hmm. So I feel like through those adjustments, so I feel like this whole COVID situation was a perfect layup to see, correct, what we're gonna be in the near future. So it's exciting to see now. Yeah. It's exciting to see. In the beginning, it wasn't exciting. Yeah. You feel like it's just a constant nightmare. But now looking at what we went through in the beginning to where we're at now, it's almost like you have this constant energy to look forward to the future and what's to come. Yeah. And it just feels like it's almost like an adrenaline where you feel like you can't be taken down anymore. Yeah. No, for sure. All this stuff is getting thrown at you constantly, day in and day out. And now past that, it's like, okay, now I feel like what's next? Yeah. It's like you're looking for the next problem to come. You're just like, you want it. You're like fiending for it. You want that next problem
addicting.
To come.
It becomes addicting.
Because if you feel like if you can win against these little battles, that you can win against anything. Yeah. And that's, I mean, I love that. No. I'm a competitor, so
100%. I know you
look
are.
forward to the competition, and it's like it's out there, and it's like tomorrow something might come up, and we'll just have to see how to deal with it then.
Yeah. Now, before we get into some of the beginning, for the viewers that don't know, just kind of give what you do, like what you're, because again, we kind of got into the business side of things, but for those that don't know your business, I mean, what is your business and what do you guys provide?
So basically, we are a meal prep company that turned into a restaurant. But with everything going on with COVID, we closed down the restaurant and just focusing on what we do best, which is meal prepping. Yep. So we basically prepare everybody's meals for the week, and just prepare all their food. All of our food is organic, gluten free, non-GMO. We ventured into vegetarian or vegan meals now. Nice. We're adding a little bit of vegan meals because we had a bunch of customers that turned vegan. So through this whole process and through this whole health issue, what was going on with COVID, a lot of our customers turned vegan. Wow. And so it's that itself right there, trying to come out with vegan meals has been a bit of a battle of its own, just because I was raised on protein, your steak, your chicken, your meat, pretty much.
Not steak, asada.
Yeah, say so right. It's like carne asada. Some carne asada, of course, some frijoles. But no, I mean it's a different world out there.
Correct.
And, you have all these different diets, so you're constantly having to adjust to everybody and what they're fulfilling their needs. And so every single person is different. And so you have to be able to adjust to it. Some people, we have a lot of diabetics, so we have to basically modify their meals to meet their needs and what their doctors are asking them, because it's not just coming from them, it's also coming from their doctors. And so it's comes with a lot of responsibility. Is what it is, a lot of responsibility. So our model is based on finding the healthiest stuff that's out there and providing it to our customers. Because a lot of the customers that we get have a lot of health issues that we're helping them overcome or to overturn. Diabetics especially, they're constantly looking for what they need in order to overturn their whichever stage they're at. So and it's
what you guys have had success with.
We have. We have had a lot of success with diabetics, firsthand, because our whole family are diabetics. My whole family, from my mom to my aunts, our main chefs are diabetics, and I have one aunt who's actually a big diabetic. She actually has to have the insulin. And so, it's growing up with that and knowing, you can't have a lot of foods that have are high in salt. So it's basically preparing their meals with nothing but pepper. it's definitely bland. Yeah. But it's the only way that's going to kind of reverse diabetes. So, correct. But yeah, I mean, diabetes itself, I mean, it's been a battle since I've been born. My grandma died from diabetes, so I never met her. But the cool story about that is that my mom was actually pregnant with me when my mom passed or when my grandma passed away. And so, 20, 30 years now, fast forward, where a lot of the recipes that we cook now all come from my grandma.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
I've never met her, but I feel
tenfold.
I feel like I know her more than I would if she were alive.
Yeah,
because all the recipes are coming from my aunts and my mom, and it's crazy. It's a crazy story.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I think again where it was more, our conversation started more of just, you calling me for advice or something like that. Like they went really into depth in some of these things. And I was obviously like in awe of not only what you were doing, but, in the purpose and everything, your why and everything that you had, that you got going with it. So let's back up a little bit. Obviously you're on the entrepreneur side now. Was it, growing up, was that something that maybe you saw, around the house, or did you always have that entrepreneur spirit in you?
Not so much. I know I wanted to own something. Mm-hmm. I know I wanted to run a business. I never knew what it was going to be. And I didn't know that up until 6 years ago, what I actually wanted to do. So, I mean, I feel like, everybody has a calling. Mm-hmm. And it's basically putting yourself out there in whatever, in multiple, jobs, and you just you try this job out. It's not for me. You go on to the next one, and you try to find your calling. And for me, it was more so I thought I was going to be a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. I was doing personal training on top of my job that I'm still at now. I'm still at.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. So. I was doing personal training, and I was cooking my own meals at the time, and it started with one person saying, "Hey, on top of training him, he was asking me, okay, what do you eat?"
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, I just cook my own meals." And he's like, "Oh, have you ever thought about cooking for other people? Would you mind cooking for me?" I was like, sure. I was like, yeah, why not? So I started cooking for him, and then it was his friend that was like, "Hey, I heard you're cooking for him. Do you mind cooking for me too?" And I was like, sure. Why not? Just bring it on. Let's do it. So then it was from one person to another, then from that friend to another friend. It started growing a little bit here and there, and then that's when I started hiring. I think it all started. In the beginning, I think I hired my sister. I hired my sister to do the cooking for me, and I was like, "Hey, if you prepare these meals for me, I'll pay you." And so I starting it that way, and then it just kind of from there it started growing a little bit here and there, and it was not so much at the time, but it was getting there to where it was it started getting to 10 people. I was like, okay, I'm gonna need some help. So I was doing personal training. Starting 4 a.m., then going straight to work, then going home, then cooking, then going back out training till midnight. So it was it was crazy in the beginning. But then actually I had a conversation with my brother, and I was like, "Hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to partner up?" And then so it was almost as soon as I feel that I could give him some responsibility and that we were kind of 50-50 at it. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel that's where things really started taking off. So he focused on the hiring process. He focused on, basically doing all the small stuff behind scenes to kind of get this business up and growing. And he was actually the one that came up with the business name also.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool deal.
So he's the one that came up with the business name. And I mean, that was 5 years ago, or 6 years ago now, back in October of 2015, and then we brought on my mom and brought on my other sister, and little by little, we saw this company being as a family-owned business, family operated. Hey, if we're gonna give back to anybody, let's give back to our family first. So still to this day, it's nothing but cousins and aunts and my nephews, and it's, you know, there's a lot of us, so it's awesome to know that, you know, we're giving back to our family first and foremost. And see where it goes from there.
And I think there's a couple of things there that were, you know, definitely worth mentioning. Is one, the part of understanding that at some point, if you wanted to grow it or you wanted to keep up where you were at that point, looking at some kind of partnership or bringing somebody in to handle a certain amount of task.
Right.
And I think, like, even from my end, like, it was really, really hard for a long time to get Cynthia to understand that bringing partners in, because she would always say, you know, it's so, like, with the assisted living homes, it's so much work, like, and we're going to give a percentage away. And I always tell her, like, well, if we want to stay where we're at, like, you know, with X amount of homes, then yeah, we can do it, and this is where we can stay. But if we wanted to continue to expand, like, there's no way physically, financially, all the above that we can continue to expand at a pretty good rate. But that part of it was really, really tough for her to understand, as far as, like, being able to give up something, but at the same time knowing that whoever we're giving that up to is also bringing value in their own way.
And yeah, it's a lot mentally also, I feel like. It's a lot mentally, because, I mean, you know, a business, when you're trying to grow a business, like your baby. Yeah. It's like you don't want to give anything up. You know, you're trying to do every single task. Every single task, and you want to do it all. Yeah. But, you know, you have to take a few steps back and realize, okay, you know what, like, if I want this to be anything, I need to start giving away some responsibility. And it's hard. It's hard to do, you know, because you care, and you only hope that the people that you're giving these responsibilities to are going to care just as much as you do. So it's hard to, you know, find the right people. But I think the moment that you find the right people and you start giving them that responsibility is when you start seeing things, you know, kind of go upward. You know, in a positive way. And, you know, sometimes it's funny, but sometimes when you give away a certain, like, a task or a responsibility, it's crazy how sometimes that person might be doing a better job than you. Yeah. And it's still till this day. I mean, it's still hard to give away some stuff, but, you know, I laugh at it now, because when I give away something and they start doing it, they do a better job than I do, and I'm like, dang. No. That would have never happened, you know. That would have never happened if I didn't, you know, if I was still all to myself and try to keep every single responsibility.
And that's, for me, that's always a good sign of a good entrepreneur, because, like, I tell people all the time, like, I'm not good at a lot of things, but the things that I'm really good at, I try to make sure that I spend the majority of my time there. I still have an understanding of the things that I'm not good at, but I'm going to find the resources and the people that are really good at those tasks. You know, like I said, with the tech stuff, like this all set up. You know, Isaac really likes this stuff. So, you know, and he's got a talent for it. So I'm like, like, you can set up, you know, and we'll jump on and do those type of things. But
and not to say that you couldn't do it.
No, exactly.
You could find, but it's like taking away time when you already have somebody around you that can do it.
Correct.
So why put that time and effort into it when you should be focusing on how you're going to grow your business?
100%.
So that's how I view it now too. Is like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I could do that. And I could do everything that everybody does. But, but is it really worth it in the end? And it's not, depending on where you want to be, you know, 5-10 years from now.
And I think a part of that is also not only just doing the stuff that maybe you're not good at, but you're not going to have as much fun doing the things that you don't like.
Correct.
You know, and so that also, you know, I'm a big person that, you know, energy is means a lot to me. You know, so when, you know, you're kind of, I got to take care of this, like, instead of, you know, again, somebody that really likes, you know, somebody that's let's say a secretary that really enjoys those tasks that a secretary needs to take care of, you know, the value that they bring and take care of, like, it's on a different level, and you can continue to have the energy you need to have for, you know, what you need to take care of. But
I mean, from my standpoint, no one likes washing dishes. Nobody likes washing dishes, but I mean, you know, I still till this day jump in there and do it if I need to. Yeah. But no one likes washing dishes. You know, that's like.
But it also sets a presence too for your staff. You know, your family, your staff, and because it also it's no job is too small for you, right? And you're allowing them to see that and to be a part of that, you know. I think for like when my younger siblings, like for me, it was always important for me to jump out and do something, even if it was the stupidest, smallest things,
right.
because it showed them like, no, like you want something done, you roll up your sleeves and you take care of it, exactly. You know. So there's definitely that fine line of taking, like, delegating it, but at the same time leading by example too.
Yeah, it's always leading by example, you know. And like I said, there's nothing there that I can't do that they're doing, but it's like, you know, putting my focus and my energy on how I'm going to continue to grow the restaurant, you know, and potentially open up a second location.
Yeah.
But if I'm so stagnant, you know, fixated on washing dishes, for example, then I'm never going to be able to focus on what I really need to focus on.
Yeah.
And in return, it's only going to benefit my current employees because, you know, there's going to be so much more opportunity if we're growing and if we're able to open up a second location or a warehouse or whatever the next step might be. So it's, you know, putting your focus and your energy in the right places. That's really going to, you know, define your business and where it's going to be, you know, in the future. So that's where I feel that as an entrepreneur or a business owner needs to be able to have their mind is, you know, what's the next step? Where are we going to take this? Or are we just going to stay here and this is just going to be a one restaurant, one and done? Or, you know, are we going to continue to grow this? And you're already in. I mean, I'm already all the way in. So it's like, okay, we either keep this location and this is where we'll be. Or, you know, we try to keep growing.
Keep it moving.
And that's, you know, as the competitor that I was saying that I was, is, you know, I hate that thought. I hate that thought, thinking, oh, this is going to be the only restaurant, because that's not what I have in mind. Or not why I started this. So
when you brought your brother on, at what point, or was it before, at what point did you say, like, okay, like it went from a kind of like a hobby,
right?
You know, to wait, okay, this could be a business. At what point was that for you?
I think it was more he had inputted that in my mind. I didn't see it just because I was so busy juggling everything. You know, and it takes somebody to tell you, hey, like, let's do something with this. You know, like, I see potential. So I think where it all started was him saying, hey, like, you know, this could be something. You know, you get the right people in place, and you know, which is funny because you were talking about how this all started, and if it started in the past. And, you know, I remember I used to keep a journal when I was like 15, 16 years old. And, you know, I always bragged that I always thought that my aunts were the best cooks in town. And so I always thought, oh, like, you know, if I could just get all my aunts together, you know, I can, you know, we can open up a restaurant. But my mind wasn't like, oh, this healthy. It was like, hey, like a mocha salsa, you know? And I feel like even today, you know, if like the healthy way doesn't work out, I can easily turn this around and we can cook the best freaking Mexican food in town.
There.
So it's, you know, but, you know, I'm taking the healthy version, and it's a little bit harder because nobody wants to fucking eat healthy. Nobody does, you know? Everybody just wants either a magic pill or they want, you know, the easy way. You know, and they don't want to put in the work, and you have to stay consistent. You have to stay consistent. Eating healthy, like working out, you have to stay at it day in and day out, you know?
Where do you feel your consistency comes from?
Start at La Habra. I feel like, you know, being around Mazzotta, I don't know if he still does it today, but he used to read us like motivational quotes. And I know a lot of that came from those little quotes. I mean, didn't mean anything at the time because they just went in one ear and out the other. But, you know, as you reflect back, you think, okay, where did this all come from, you know? And I think, you know, La Habra, between Mazzotta and Verdugo, they did a really good job of showing you, hey, if you want something, you better go get it. You know? And I think that's where it came from. It just came from the both of them kind of molding me into not being a quitter.
And because it's the consistency is one thing, you know, people can be consistent by showing up to work,
right?
But your consistency, like you said, it's waking up at 4 a.m., working out, you know, taking somebody else to a workout, going to work after that, and your work is not down the street.
No, it's not down the street.
Your work is sometimes, I'm going to say pre-COVID, because COVID probably helped out a little bit of that. Yeah. Pre-COVID, an hour and a half drive maybe sometimes?
An hour and a half to 2 hour drive. So, pre-COVID, traffic was horrendous. Mm-hmm. You know, driving to Long Beach, down to the ports, all the way down to 710 was no joke. Mm-hmm. And there's an accident every day. So, which adds an extra 30 minutes. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd be lying if I say I didn't fall asleep a few times on the freeway trying to drive to work or sitting in traffic. Yeah. You know, driving back home, and
So you're talking about hour and a half going there to 2 hours going there. You're working your 8-hour shift.
Then 8 to 10 to 12-hour shift.
Okay. Depending. Then you're coming home in another hour and a half to 2 hour drive.
Correct.
And at some point, it took a toll on you physically.
Physically, yeah.
I mean, mentally probably too, but
physically, mentally, emotionally. You can, emotionally as well. I mean, there's, emotionally probably a lot. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it all takes a toll. You know, I feel like I still hit my breaking point at sometimes. Now it just I've learned through what I went through in the beginning to now to kind of how to maneuver through it. Mm-hmm. And the number one thing that I always do is just work through it. Yeah. Because that's the only way that you're gonna work your see through is just to keep working. Yeah. Don't give up, just keep going. But yeah, I mean, I did hit my breaking point back then where I was like, okay, you know what, I can't juggle training people, and the number one thing was them not showing up. Yeah, I go to the gym and
them not being consistent.
And it's like, okay, I'm more consistent than they am, and they're the ones they're the ones telling me, hey, like I really want to change my life around. I want to lose this amount of weight, and I'm from the get-go when I was training people, I would be very honest with them. I'd say, hey, don't waste my time. I won't waste your time. But this is what it's going to take if you want to go from here to here. And a lot of people are, they have these extreme goals. They want to lose like 50 to 100 pounds in like 30 days. It's that's very unrealistic. Yeah. That's not a realistic goal, So let's back up a little bit. Let's, what is, your goal and where do you see yourself in 6 months? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't even know that. Yeah. A lot of people don't even know what their goal is in a week, let alone 6 months, you know? So you put it out there, you really get them to start thinking, okay, like, is this something that I really want? Like where, you start asking them the questions, where do you see yourself in a month first and foremost? Where do you see yourself in 6 months, in a year, and in 5 years? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have no clue. Yeah. No clue.
Yeah, I bet.
What, they don't even have a goal.
Yeah.
They just know that they want to lose weight, they want to be healthy, but they don't want to put in the work.
Correct.
So it's that itself, and trying to stay up with them, and trying to check in with them daily. Hey, and it's like you're a babysitter. Yeah. You're a babysitter because you're asking them, hey, did you eat healthy? And you're only hoping that what they're telling you is true.
The truth.
And, a lot of the time they're like, no, I messed up. And it's like, then why are you doing this,
No, put it a little bit closer.
So it's, it was just a lot. So I gave up the personal training, and I focused on, the meal prep side of things and how I can grow that. And I feel like my marketing degree helped to a certain extent, but it doesn't prepare you for everything else that happens when you're running a business. It doesn't prepare you. Yeah. So,
but I think there's one thing that, again, throughout our conversations that you've always displayed for me, and that's always just not only just the consistency, but the will to just keep working. Yeah. It's what our podcast is. No luck. All work, because I think at times people look at individuals that have had success or that have done something that other people don't do, and they look at it, oh, that guy was lucky, that guy was at the right place, right time, but not really knowing that there was a back end of that. There was 2, 3, 4, 5 years that took into that, and I think for me, I always say, like, things happen in stages in life. Right. And, even going back to what you just, expressed right now on, your notebook, and you were manifesting these ideas without you even realizing like what's to come. Right. These things were already bouncing around in your head.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. As far as a notebook, it's funny because that was back in high school when I thought, okay, maybe someday I'll open up a restaurant.
Yeah.
And my current notebook, I actually just opened up my old one from 5-6 years ago, and I opened it up and I'm looking at it. It's just kind of saying like, this was when I first started meal prepping. So I already had the idea, okay, someday I want to have a restaurant. Yeah. So I looked back at it, and it's so on there, number one was like having a brick and mortar, having a restaurant, which I have now. The other one was, reaching a certain monetary goal, which I have now. And the other one was, helping over 1,000 people, which we've surpassed that by a lot.
Wow.
And the other one was, having all these like little things in the restaurant within itself. So not just having, food, but also having like, little things like acai bowls and juices and, drinks.
I know my kids love the smoothies.
Yeah, which we all have now. But, this is something that I was talking about 5-6 years ago, which seemed like a very unrealistic goal, especially the restaurant part of it.
Yeah.
Because even finding, up until we found the restaurant where we're at now, it was, 2-3 years that we were searching.
Yeah, yeah.
And there were times where I was like, man, maybe this isn't for us.
Yeah, yeah,
maybe this isn't for me to do. So it was crazy the way that it worked out though, because I don't even know, but I just remember Moro's moving over to
Habra and
Imperial, and I was like, oh, like they're at a bigger location now. Congrats to them. Like, what are they doing with their old spot?
Yeah.
So I think my cousin and my brother reached out to Moro's owner, Sean, and we're like, hey, like, we see you still have the other location. Are you using it? He's like, actually, no, I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to, I'm still in lease for another 3 years. I'm trying to get rid of it. Yeah. So his main thing was that he didn't want to have, a restaurant open up there that was in competition with him. So we kind of gave him our business model and what we wanted to do.
Which is way different than his.
Yep. And he was more than helpful. He was very helpful. He's like, hey, like, I'll sign over the lease to you guys tomorrow if you want. Let's do all the paperwork and we'll get you guys going. And yeah, that's how it started. It started with reaching out and saying, hey, like, what are you doing with your old spa? And he signed over the lease to us. Yeah,
and I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. Like for me, like, I don't think anything is by accident or just because. And for you, and it goes back to certain things that sometimes as human beings, like, we don't really pay attention to. And when you look back, like something you just shared right now with the guy that asked you, like, oh, do you want to cook for me? And like, you could have easily said no.
Right.
And at times we don't really understand some of the opportunities that get brought to us, or we're not paying attention. But then there's times where we are paying attention and we do take advantage of those type of opportunities, and that has really has had a snowball effect for you. I mean, from that to another one. Hey brother, you want to get going, and now with the restaurant and all that kind of thing. But I mean, where for you, like, and I think I asked Mazzola this too, like, when you're going through that process, do you realize you're going through that process, or you're just kind of living in that time period?
Not necessarily. No, I don't think I notice it. Even till now, I don't think I notice all the little wins, which is not something you realize till you reflect back.
Yeah.
So you sit down and you're like, okay, let me look back and see where I was a year ago.
Yeah.
And let's see where I'm at now. So I think all the small little victories kind of happen, and it's like you're prepared for them.
Correct.
So it's like you're just constantly, like, when you're winning, you're just constantly just going.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it, because it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
It really does become a habit, and it just becomes like a part of it, part of the process. You prepared for everything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, football, and you practice, and you go and you do the weight room, you do all the little things leading up to Friday night.
Yeah, for sure.
You expect that outcome. Yep. So when you win, it's like, hey, well, I prepared for it.
Yep.
That was supposed to be the outcome of it.
Yeah.
We were supposed to win.
And I know for me, like I know personally, I have to do a better job of that like moment, or that you're really paying attention to those small wins. Yeah. Like, because they at the end of the day, a win's a win. Like we even say in football. I mean, ugly, pretty, whatever it is, a win is a win. But like for me, it's staying in that moment, because my mind automatically goes 5-10 years down the line. Like I'm constantly pushing the envelope that way. So it's really important. I think that we do understand that, and we do reflect on a daily, weekly, monthly basis on those small wins, So you got your brother involved, you start moving forward. And I know, again, for me, it was also part of your why that had me so intrigued in just this story that you had when when we first, started really talking about this part of it.
Yeah.
Go into a little more detail on your why and how you really started the business side of things.
The why would be more so it actually revolves around my mom, actually. Mm-hmm. So I know at the time she was kind of going through a little bit of depression at the time. Mm-hmm. And she was having battles of her own, trying to figure out what she wanted to do. And I wouldn't really say a midlife crisis, but it was mm-hmm. more so her depression side of things, feeling like she wasn't worthy of anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, we were having a conversation one day, and she was kind of having a moment, I would say, and she just hit, like, I would say, kind of rock bottom mm-hmm. for her, and mm-hmm. she felt that she was useless. Yeah. And saw no purpose in, continuing life. Yeah. So it took that, I think it was at that moment where she had, mentioned something about, all I want to do is I just want to help people. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, how do you want to help people? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what really triggered my mind to think that, okay, well, let's get you doing something where you can help people, and something that you're good at, that people will enjoy and love, Yeah. And so, even till this day, she doesn't agree with it, but I mean, what she's great at is cooking. Mm-hmm. And she says she hates cooking. And she says she hates it. Still to this day, she says she hates cooking, and she doesn't understand that what she's able to do is, looking at it now is, it's been changing a lot of people's lives.
100%.
And, so that was the why to how this all started was, her saying that she wanted to help people. And a little more into detail, she had a little episode that night, and, where she said she didn't want to continue life. And mm-hmm. I asked her, okay, like, what do you want? Like, what do you want me to do? What do you want from me? Mm-hmm. And I think the calling was that, her thing was like, I just want you to go to church with me. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, that's all you want? And it's funny because I remember that time, because at mm-hmm. that time in my life, I didn't really believe mm-hmm. in God. Mm-hmm. I didn't really, to me, it was just like, oh, I don't believe in that. Yeah. So she had said, yeah, that's all I want. Yeah. All I want for you. And so, to kind of turn things around and to kind of get her out of that state of mind, I was like, okay, I'll go to church with you. Yeah. Like, when do you want to go? She's like, we'll go this Saturday. So I was like, okay, mm-hmm. let's go. Mm-hmm. Well, what's going to happen? We'll go to church, and so what? So we end up going to church that day, and I swear to not that we sit down. From the moment that we both sit down, it's almost like, there's 200 people in this room. Yeah. It's almost like the priest put his full attention on me. Yeah. And it was just like he was just talking directly to me. Yeah. Everything that was going on in my life, everything that we were going through at the time, it was just like he was talking to me, and I was like, this is, in my mind, I was thinking this was a setup. I was like, this is a setup or something, you know, but it was just so crazy. It was just, he was one event after another, just kind of pinpointing everything that was going on in my life. And I didn't know, I was so shocked, and like, I just started crying. I started crying. I was just like, man, like, if for me to ever think that there was never a God, it's this moment here that I feel like he is like, he's real. And so it was crazy, you know, because looking at it now, I was thinking I was going there for her, but really, you know, it ended up being that I went there for myself. Wow. And so it's crazy the way things work, but I feel like, you know, from that moment, you know, me, her, and my brother kind of made, you know, our pact that, hey, let's go full force with this restaurant thing, and let's see what happens. And, you know, now, where we're at now, her saying that she just wants to help people, it's crazy. You know, how many people she's impacted. And she might not know it. You know, because she obviously doesn't get all the messages that we get from people, but like, this is basically revolved around her. And it's crazy still till this day.
And you found that your why was also purpose. I mean, from your side, from her side, and it really has been something special. I mean, it's been fun for me. And again, like, I haven't been in those meetings that you guys have. I haven't been, like, but just having the conversations that we have, like, it's been really, really special for me to watch, like, your growth into the leader and entrepreneurship and that side of things. But then there's the business side to actually, you know, again, from, you know, meal prepping to now, you know, going in there and, like, you know, hey, let me get a smoothie. Let me, you know, and it's been really, really, really fun to see. It really, really has been. So
but
but I think sometimes again, goes back to some of the things that sometimes we don't pay attention to, and not really realizing, and we take things for granted. And, you know, we don't think about breathing. We don't think about walking. Like, it's just stuff that we do until those things are taken away from us. And then all of a sudden now, you know, we have a different perspective on things, you know. And
that's another major one too. You know, a lot of these people come to us after the fact. So, you know, they go through their whole lives, you know, eating really badly, you know, and then they'll have a heart attack. You know, or something, they'll have a major health issue, a big turning point in their life. You know, so I feel like we as humans work backwards. You know, so we'll continue to push the envelope on our health. And it's funny because that's the number one thing that always goes first is our health, you know, and people don't realize that until they have that heart attack. And then it's like the doctor telling them, hey, they give them those warnings, you know, like, hey, it's either you change your life, you start eating healthier, or you're going to die, you know? And so we get all these, you know, these people that come to us, they're like, hey, like, you know, my doctor wants me to start eating healthier. So it's like, it's extra pressure. But it's like, it's good pressure because, you know, there's nothing more that I enjoy than helping people, because that's how this all started. Was based off of helping people.
And I think there's gotta, like, obviously it's very rewarding, but like from the assisted living side, like assisted living, like there's death involved. Like, it's not, that's our business is eventually, like, we're all gonna be there obviously, but we're dealing with the elderly, so they're closer, you know, age-wise, you know, because obviously anything can happen to any of us. But they're closer age-wise than we are. So there's that side of things that are not, like, those are really, really rough, like the deaths and, you know, having to deal with that, even though we see it more often than most. But it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding to, you know, to work with them and see, you know, whether they come to us from a skilled nursing and they, you know, they're not walking or they're not doing certain things, and then they build that back up and they start doing it again. I mean, that's got to be that side of things. As tough as it is to have somebody come to you in that kind of shape, but then to see the flip side of it, you know, and see them a lot of them come out of that or get in a better situation than what they came to you?
It's very rewarding. Not to say that I'm numb to it now, but I just feel like, we're put in these situations for a reason, because, through the years or, I feel like this is our calling.
Yeah.
You have the nursing home, I have the restaurant, where I'm helping people, you're helping people. Yeah. And, I think that's what I always wanted to do. And it just took, it just took my mom to say, hey, I want to help people.
Yeah.
And so I'm helping her help people, and she's helping me with my why as well.
Yeah.
So we're 100%. All just kind of helping each other out. Yeah. And it's been a real blessing to kind of see what we're able to do.
Yeah.
And where I see us in the future. And it's crazy, because I'm just like you, I think 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
And I hate living in this moment right now, because I'm excited about what's to come. And it's like, you're trying to rush there. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I do a terrible job of living in the moment.
Yeah.
Terrible job, because my mind's always wandering into, I don't like where we're at right now, because I see so much potential, and I want to get here.
Yeah.
But it's like, you have to go through those stages.
Yeah.
And it's
100%.
like,
trust the process.
You got to trust the process. And as much as you try to rush it, it's like, you're going to do more damage trying to, get there overnight than just letting things play out.
Yep.
But I mean, it's exciting. It is exciting.
100%.
It is exciting. But I just, in the end, I just need to do a better job of living in this moment and, enjoying those small little victories, and, people losing weight, people coming to us telling us, hey, like, I've lost, 20, 30 pounds since I started with you guys.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
This lady actually just told us she just lost 40-some pounds since she started eating with us.
Wow.
And I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And I had never met this lady before. She just walked in, and she was actually picking up for her daughter, and she was like, hey, like, just let you guys know, I've lost like 40 pounds since I started eating with you guys.
That's awesome.
Dude, that's fucking amazing. We're not doing, we're just, just eat healthy.
Yeah.
That's it. Just make better choices.
Yeah,
and that's
100%.
all it is,
100%.
And it's just crazy what, people can do once they, start eating healthier.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing, because once they start eating healthier, they start seeing results, and then they start kicking in, working out.
Then it starts getting addicting.
Then they get that snowball effect within themselves, and it's amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
I got a kick out of it. I was like, I don't even know who you are, but that's freaking amazing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so you've got the restaurant now. You've obviously had the meal prep. That's really grown. You had the restaurant, even though you closed down. I mean, it's still to have a space the way you have, because it started in the kitchen.
Started at our home,
in your house, in the kitchen,
in our kitchen.
So now you got the commercial kitchen in a
now we're
brick and mortar. Yeah. What are some of the things that you're doing? Because again, like for me, I'm always trying to better what I'm doing, and viewers that are watching this, that are, been entrepreneurs, or just starting entrepreneurship. Throughout this process, what are some of the things that you're doing, to better who you are, like you person, not the business, not your employees, not nothing, just you as a person.
Surrounding yourself around great people. So, finding that mentor, and that's how this all started, was me reaching out to you and, slightly seeing what you were doing. I mean, you're very secretive, so it was very secretive. But no, I mean, I think it was like Joelle. Joelle actually gave me a rundown on everything you're doing. I was like, dang, I don't never see that. You don't ever see that. So I think that's when I reached out to you, and I was like, hey, like, I'd love to catch up and let's kind of talk. And that's how all this started. But yeah, it's, finding the right people to put in your life to kind of give you, the experiences that they went through in order for you to learn off of it, so you don't do that same mistake. So first and foremost is, finding the right people, finding a mentor, doing 5 tasks per day. So whatever those 5 tasks might be, for me, it's very simple. You know, it's waking up before the sun rises. That's my number one task for every day. It's the little victories. So waking up before the sun rises is one. You know, trying to read 10 pages per day, which is the second one. Drinking a gallon of water is another victory that I have per day. Working out with 4, and then 5 is taking my dog out twice a day. So there's small little victories, and you know, then doing all the other. So kind of doing those in between the tasks that you have for the day. Is, you know, winning the day is how I see it. Is and I got that off of Andy Frisella actually. So I did his 75 hard, and you know, I've picked up.
You still never sent it to me. I still got to try it out, man.
So you know, and I picked up that habit. So I've just, hey, like, you know, and it makes sense, you know, when you win, and it doesn't have to be anything big, you know, because I feel like people like they set themselves up for failure, but it has to do simple things that, you know, even taking the trash out can be a task. You take the trash out, you feel good. Hey, like, you know, there's no trash here. Or washing your car, or whatever it might be. Just 5 tasks per day. You complete those in between, you know, what you have to do throughout the day. And it's, you know, that's what gives that motivation for the next day. And then, you know, you take it day by day.
I like that. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna start tomorrow. I'm gonna text you my 5 tasks tomorrow.
5 tasks. That's all it is. Very simple. And that's, like I said, that's something that I picked up off of him that I've you know, inputted into my life.
But you'll be surprised on, again, you're looking at those as small tasks, but it goes back to the consistency. And people will be surprised on how, when you're consistent, even with the smallest things, how that just rolls over to other things. It rolls over to bigger things of just being every day showing up, you know. But I just, and like I said, for me, like, I could talk to a 20-year-old. He's doing something that I'm not doing, that I see like, oh, this could work. Like, I'm gonna do it. I mean, you know, but you know me, I'm always talking to somebody that's 20, 30 years older than me to try to pick up those little things. But I've never been, you know me, I've never been into, you know, different things where I can always learn from somebody, you know. So
exactly.
I'm definitely I'm telling you, I'm gonna text you tomorrow. I'm gonna text you my 5 things tomorrow on that.
5 simple tasks. That's all it is. But yeah, I mean, just on top of that, just finding the right people. You know, bouncing ideas off of each other. You know, whatever. It doesn't even have to be business related. You know, it could be personal life. You know, it could be anything. But as long as you have that guidance. You know, and then it just becomes a snowball effect after that. So
100%.
So that's that simple.
What is the next? Well, I guess we'll get to my 2 main questions at the end. Okay, so I'm gonna ask all my guests these 2 questions. All right.
Okay.
So the first question is, Petey, today, are you 32? 31. When did you, before we get into that, when did you start, how old were you when you got the restaurant going?
25? 26. Yeah, 26, I think.
That's when you started the business, right?
Oh, the actual restaurant.
Yeah. So you started the business at 25, 26.
2018, so 3 years ago. So I was 27, 28.
So within 2 or 3 years, you had the restaurant. You went from meal prep to restaurant. Wow. Okay. I mean, I've looked into the restaurant side of things, and I mean, it's no easy task. So to grow, and at such a young age, again, you know, being able to start your own business at 25, 26 years old, 28, 29 years old, having your own restaurant, man, it's really, really impressive. But like I told you, I've always, you know, I've really enjoyed, like I said, your process and watching you grow in that sense.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm a stats person, so you look at all the statistics of, you know, what does it take for a restaurant to be successful, and it's like red flags everywhere. You know, it's like, don't do it. Don't do it, you know, because only be like 10 to 15% of restaurants actually become successful or become something. So, you know, there's all these red flags, but like I said, I'm a competitor, so I saw that and I didn't budge. I didn't budge. I was like, well,
took it as a challenge, if anything.
Like, damn, 10 to 15%. Like, if I'm able to, you know, make something of this, then shit. Like, let's do it. You know. So I think a lot of people get I guess they get scared. They get scared when they look at that. But that's what I do. You know, I look at, I look for motivation off big chains. You know, big chains on what they're doing and how I can kind of, I guess, duplicate what they do. And, you know, and a lot of these people started in a corner. Now,
there's something to that, Petey, and I'm gonna tell you why. So one of my first resident, you remember you telling me, I'm telling you about him, our first resident up at the Heights. Bill McAlfresh was his name, Billy McAlfresh. He owned at one point 4 restaurants. And I used to love having conversations with him. So much. He was my first blind resident that I already had. Like, really had a genuine. I have a pretty good relationship with all my residents, but like I guess his started because when he first moved in, and you remember this story. When he first moved in, I moved into the house with him for 2 weeks because my whole family went up to Washington
during New Year's, right?
Christmas and New Year's. He moved in December 16th. I'll never forget that day. December 16th, he moved in, but at that time, you know, his family, he couldn't stay at home anymore, because, you know, he was blind, but he actually lived in his house for 6 years, completely independent, cooked his own food. This is all while he was blind, just insane. But anyway, so he would tell me these stories, and I kid you not, that was part of his whole success story. He's like, I would take things from Denny's, I would take things from my house, like. He's like, at one point, he put the Grand Slam on his menu. Like, it was, and everybody would give him crap. Like, Bill, like, they're gonna come here and sue you for this. He's like, oh well, I'll deal with it when it comes. And he's like, they never came. They don't know about this little cafe I have in the middle of nowhere. But so you're definitely onto something there, you know, because I'm telling you, he swore by it. I mean, he would look at the big, you know, McDonald's, and and his was more like cafe style restaurants. You know, they had breakfast all the way to dinner, but like it was almost like the way he would describe it was like norms, as far as like you get salad and soup and all this extra stuff. But he swore by it, man.
That's what they do. And it's like you have to kind of replicate, you know, whoever it is that you want to become. Whoever's already done it. You just got to basically just model and replicate everything that they've done. And it's that simple. It really is, you know. And these people, these successful people, they give you books. And it's like, oh, hey, this is how I got from here to here. But that's where people mess up, is they don't take the time to read it. They don't take the time.
100%.
And at one point, I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I wanted to be Tony Robbins.
So
I picked up every Tony Robbins book, and every book I read, he just said, you know, whatever it is you do, just help people. Just help people. And so I'm still doing that today. I'm not a motivational speaker, but you know, I'm still helping people today in some form. And
it's coming.
So as you are, you know, so it's it's just replicating what somebody's already doing. And it's basically that's all it is.
Why mess up a good thing if they're, you know, especially if whether it's documented or if they're giving it to you. I mean, obviously, and I think I love that part of it. I love, you know, talking to older guys. The guy that owned the shop and the barbershop, or, you know, the building, man. I love having conversations with him because he's got so much knowledge. But there's so many different lessons that I'm constantly picking his brain. Like, what did you do here? What didn't work? And he loves to share them too. So it ends up being a pretty good combination, you know.
I mean, people aren't afraid to talk. You just got to ask them. You know, and I think that's where the generation is leading to now, is that, you know, people don't talk anymore. People don't even call anymore. You know, I'm constantly calling people, and like, they never answer. never answer. You know, I'm like,
wait, you adding me or
what? You know, as you're calling them, they're texting you like, hey, what's up? I'm answer the phone. That's what's up.
I hope my wife watches. I hope my wife watches this, and I'll call her. She's text me. What are you talking about? Answer your phone.
I hate that, you know, because I feel like when you're talking to people, you can hear it in their voice. You can hear a lot. You can get a lot of feedback.
Correct.
But I mean, texting, things just get so misconstrued.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
100%.
What the hell does this mean? You know, and I think that's where hope things turn around, because where I wouldn't say my generation, but where, you know, the next generation is going, it's like, you know, everyone's so stuck on their phone. They can't ever leave their phone. You know, it's terrible.
No, 100%. You're right. You're right.
You just got to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
And these kids don't know that. You just got to get your hands dirty.
So going back to my two questions, all right? The first question is, Petey at 31 today, if you can give, because again, there's going to be an 18-year-old that watches this podcast or listens to this podcast. What advice can you give him? So you're talking to Petey yourself at 18 years old.
Don't be so full of yourself. I thought I had it all figured out at 18. Mm-hmm. High school, I was like, I had it all figured out.
Well, you're the man. That's why.
You think the world revolves around you, and it's, you know, it takes life to hit you over and over and over again to realize, you know, damn, I'm nobody.
Yeah.
You know, I'm nobody in this world.
Yeah.
Even still to this day, you know. But it's like, you know, you have to leave. What legacy do you want to leave behind? And I think that's the question I would ask him. You know, is, you know, what legacy do you want to leave behind? How do you want to be remembered? You know, and I think that's something that I struggled with a lot when I was 18 years old, graduating from high school, is not knowing where I wanted to go. And that's okay. Yeah. Because even still to this day, I don't know. You know, and it's at that, you know, back at 18, I thought I had it all figured out. Yeah. That's definitely not the case. So, you know, best advice is just, you know, just take it day by day, and, you know, it'll all work out. So I feel like that's probably the main thing.
No, that's a great advice. I mean, that's great advice. I mean, I would always tell people, you know, when I was coaching, I would talk to parents where their kids had graduated. Yeah. And you know, the parents is like, oh, well, he doesn't know what he wants to do yet, and, you know, they're frustrated for him. I'm like, you're frustrating for them is not going to help them figure it out. Right. You know, everybody figures it out at a different point. You know, the goal is really to get them to understand, to find out what you like. Because that, as a parent, that's what's going to make you the happiest. You know, that your son or daughter is doing what they love to do. Exactly. And like I said, you said it. You know, it could be somebody figures it out at 15, but then there's going to be somebody that figures it out at 40. Yeah. I mean, and that's okay. It's not. There's not a one size fits all, or this is the way it has to be done. Right. You know, and I think the more and more that people really take into that, I guess the easier life gets sometimes, because like you said, we live with so much pressure, constantly putting pressure on, you know, deadlines, and I want to be married by this time, I want to have kids by this time, you know.
On that note, I thought I was going to be married with kids at 25.
You know, but it's constantly putting deadlines and things, and again, don't get me wrong, like, you know, in business and in different things in life, like, yeah, there needs to be something, but some kind of deadline on things, but to put immense pressure on yourself, and, you know, that this needs to be by this time, this needs, like, you're not going to be as happy, you know. Right. You know, so that's great advice, man. It's great advice. So the second part of that question is, so you're 31, so I'm gonna say 50 years. 50 years from now, Petey looks back at this time right now. What is he going to be the most proud of?
Most proud of, I think, enjoying the moments that I'm currently enjoying with my family in the restaurant. So, I mean, sounds dumb, but I enjoy going to work just because I get to be around my mom.
100%.
I enjoy it, and I'm willing. You know, we wake up at 2 a.m, Saturday and Sunday at 2 a.m, just to get to the restaurant to help, you know, to cook for everybody. And, you know, it's I guess I lied because I said I don't live in the moment, but I guess showing up to the restaurant and her being there are things that I think no money or no anything can ever take away.
Yeah.
So something that we started and to where we are now, and having her there, I think that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know, so I think when I'm 81 years old and looking back at everything that we've been through, I think just the weekends and spending them together, even though we're working, we're still there together 100%. And we're competing with each other, you know, and I think that's something that, you know, nothing can ever take away. So
that's awesome.
That's what I'll remember the most
and
enjoy the most.
Yeah.
So, I think.
Well, I appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure. And keep changing lives, Petey, because you're doing a great job. And I can't wait to watch the next couple months and years and see you blow up, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.